Sir, people are joining.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So, sir, sorry for delay, sir.
It's okay, no problem. Carry on. It's only 4-minute delay.
Yes, sir. We can start within 5 minutes, sir. Just people
No
are
problem.
joining.
So, have you sent all the participants?
Yes, sir. I have
Email?
sent all participants.
Mhm.
Sir, when you have meeting, sir?
So I have here 7 o'clock, means 3:30 India time.
India time. 7:30 Korea time, sir.
No, Korea time 7 o'clock, India time 3:30.
Okay, sir. Okay. Just, sir, by 2 to 3 minutes, we are going to start.
Mm-hmm.
Rakesh, sir? Rakesh, sir? Rakesh sir. Satyam, please stop presenting. Rakesh sir, I am audible. Rakesh sir. Rakesh sir, I am audible. Rakesh sir, I am audible to you. Rakesh sir.
Hello.
Yes sir, I am audible to you.
Hello. Hello. My voice is audible to you.
Yes sir. Rakesh sir, are you getting my voice?
Hello.
Yes sir, yes sir. Are you getting my voice sir? Rakesh sir. So no issue. The people are joining in between them. We can start the session. So good afternoon to all of you. We are now having the experts with us, and today is World Environment Day 2020. As we are aware that today is 5th June. As we know, the World Environment Day is celebrated on 5th June annually to increase the awareness about the environmental protection. This year, we have two emphases on the need to take care for the nature and humanity. That is for biodiversity. The theme is extremely important with the recent events of major bushfire, corona pandemic, locust attack, cyclone, as as it acts as a reminder that human health is linked to the planet health. This is the concern that it is both urgent and essential, as nature is sending us a clear message. With a million of species facing existence, there never been a more improper time to focus on biodiversity. Biodiversity is the foundation that support all land and underwater. It impacts.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. Sir, just give me 2 minutes. We can start the session. Rakesh, sir, just give me 2 minutes. Biodiversity is the foundation that support all life and on land and underwater. It impacts aspects of human, including the provision of clean air and water, nutrition, food, medicine sources, climate change, mitigation, and many more. Many changes in this system can impact the entire life system and procedure life procedure life lasting negative consequences. But across the world in the recent year, biodiversity has been impacted with the several human action, including the deforestation, intensified agriculture, massive industrialization, and encroachment on wildlife habitats. As young mind and the future of the nation, we have to think a lot on the present condition is going to be worsening and challenging in the upcoming years. So I can conclude with the thought that it's the time to appreciate the benefit of the nature provided us. It's the time to take action to protect the nature, restore our natural world. Let's put the nature where it is belongs to heart to our decision making And lastly, to take care for the humanity, we care for the nature. So here is our the guest. Sorry, because sir has meeting. Jiten sir has meeting in after this session. So we will conduct a first session from the Jiten sir. Jiten sir is from Hanging University, South Korea, and sir has a very vast experience in the research field. So sir can start this presentation through sir. You can sir click on the present now button, sir. Sir. Wait, sir. Yes, sir. So now you can, sir, click on the present now button in the top right bottom corner.
Yeah. So now you can see my presentation.
Yes, sir. Now, sir, put it in the full mode, sir.
Okay. Is it okay?
Yes, sir. It is fine, sir.
So I think everyone is listening.
Yes, sir.
Shall I start it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. People are joining, sir. We can start the session.
Okay, no problem.
Yes, sir.
So that's good. Thank you, Vijendra, for inviting me to attend this meeting. Actually, I am working on the corrosion, but it's a little bit different from my expert area. But everyone know that the pollution also play a major role in the corrosion. So I'm trying to correlate the nature, means the air pollution, with the degradation of the material. So today my topic is effect of air pollution on materials degradation. So as a Vijendra, Dr. Vijendra has mentioned that I am working in the Hanyang University, South Korea. So I am trying to explain the thing that how the pollution, air pollution, is affecting the property of the materials in respect to the degradation. Okay. So there is ISO corrosive index for the different zones of India. So ISO has defined some index that's for the degradation of material, that how much would be the corrosion rate, and it would be the index, how much index would be there. So in this case, ISO define the corrosive index for the different zone of India, that is the corrosion of metals and alloy, degradation of metallic coating, degradation of stones and marbles. Actually, different type of metal is being used all over the world, even in India. So I am more emphasizing and more focused on the India only, not the all over the world, because for this respect I need the meteorological data and many things, but I have some data for the India. So the with different type of metals and coatings and stones, marbles, we have exposed the different parts of India. So what parts we have selected. So in the subsequent slide, I will show you. So for the assessment of corrosion index, we have chosen 2009 to 2013 period. This is the 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 4, and that 12 to 13. So this is a 3 to 4 years duration. So in these periods, we have exposed different types of metal and alloy all over the India, different parts of India. And then after that, we have collected the samples, removed the samples from different locations, and measure, and then calculated the corrosion rate. So after that, we have defined that which part of the India is most susceptible for the corrosion and for the particular metal and alloy and the coating. So you can see here the exposure sites to assess the corrosivity index. You can see here the yellow part. Yellow part is the humid subtropical climate. It can include the Jodhpur, New Delhi, Kanpur, Bihar, Tejpur, Jorhat. These are the humid and subtropical climate. Nagpur, Bombay, Hyderabad, Madras. These are the tropical savanna. And you can see that semi-arid climate is the Jodhpur, Kandala. This is some part of the Mumbai, and the Bhavnagar is also in the tropical region. So it means in the India, different parts of different climatic zone is there. So different climatic zone, the climatic zone affect the property of the materials. Like steel, brass, bronze, copper, aluminum, zinc. So these are being used all over the India. So what is the effect of this climatic condition and along with the air pollution for a particular region? So we have calculated the corrosion rate on the basis of these aspects. So ISO 9223 is a standard. So they have categorized, they have indexed the corrosivity. So C1 is a very low, means the on the respect of the corrosion rate. Corrosion rate is the micrometer per year. I think you people know, and maybe some people know about the corrosion rate. So corrosion rate is a micrometer per year. So if the carbon steel has the corrosion rate less than 1 to 3 micrometer, so it would be considered as a very low. If it increase more than 3 micrometer and less than 25 micrometer, then it would be considered as a low. It is indicated as C2. If the corrosion rate is more than 25 but less than the 50 micrometer, then it is the medium condition, it's the C3. And the extreme condition is the CX. If the corrosion is more than 200 micron and less than the 700 micron. Like this, you can see that the zinc is also there, copper is also there, and aluminum is also there. So on this basis, the ISO has defined that corrosivity index. So on this basis, we can mention that which part of our India is the more corrosive for a particular metal. Like now I am going to discuss about the carbon steel. So it is for the Mumbai, Chennai, Trivandrum, Kolkata. This portion is there. So that portion is the polluted as well as coastal area. In this area, coastal is the medium coastal area. You can see there are the different corrosive index. If you see here, there is C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, and extreme condition. The Mumbai is a very high C4. It's a very high corrosion rate. Not the very high, not the extreme. It's a high corrosion rate. Chennai also high corrosion rate, and Kerala, I mean Trivandrum is also a high corrosion rate. But as you move to the Jorhat and the Lucknow, New Delhi, so the corrosion rate is low. It means the corrosion rate is low, means less than 25 micron. Okay. So on this basis, we have exposed some sample like one plain carbon steel, that is the mild steel also called. It's MS. I have abbreviated as MS, and the withering steel also there. Withering steel contain, you can see here, some high amount of silicon, phosphorus, nickel, copper, and chromium. But plain carbon steel means the MS. That's mild steel also called. It doesn't have the chromium, copper, nickel, phosphorus, and sulfur. So means what is the role of these elements and the corrosion resistance of the steel? So we can see. There is a rack. You can see that such type of rack is fabricated, and we have installed the sample like this. You can see here. So you can see here the New Delhi, Lucknow, Mumbai, Kolkata, 4 locations we have chosen. So as I earlier mentioned that we have exposed with different exposure period. So this graph is 2011 to 2012, means 1 year. As you can see here that the mild steel is exhibiting very high corrosion rate, around the 40 micrometer per year. Means if the corrosion rate more than 25 micrometer, so it's a high corrosion rate. That's why we can say that the Mumbai is a high corrosive condition due to the high humidity and the saline condition. Means it is a coastal area. That's why there is a content of the colloids very high, which influences the corrosion. That's why the Mumbai is exhibiting very high corrosion rate among the New Delhi, Lucknow, and Kolkata. So the red one is for the mild steel that doesn't have any alloying element like copper, chromium, and silicon. But the WS you can see always WS means withering steel has the lower corrosion rate compared to the mild steel. It is due to the alloying of the element. It means the alloying of element can improve the resistance of the corrosion by the formation of corrosion product. Once the exposure period is increased, when the same sample has been continued. So you can see, so the corrosion rate is decreased with the exposure of time. It is owing to the formation of some corrosion product, because initially there was no corrosion product, bare sample is there. If bare sample is there, there's attack of the chloride and oxygen, moisture is very high. So the initially they are bare sample. Then the corrosion is very high due to the there is absent of the corrosion product. Once the corrosion product has formed, it means some thin layer has formed. If thin layer is formed, so the other aggressive ions, the moisture, colloid ion is coming. So what it will do, it will inhibit to ingress to penetrate through the corrosion layer towards the surface. That's why the corrosion is decreased. So then branch we have exposed, then you can see the branch in the case of branch. So here Nagpur, Chennai, and Trivandrum, it is the high corrosion rate. And you can see New Delhi and Lucknow, Kolkata. Lucknow, Kolkata is medium, and Jorhat is also medium. But the Palanpur doesn't have the any pollution. It is the hill area, so there is no pollution. If there is no pollution, so the corrosion is very less. It means the pollution is influencing for the corrosion. Also, you see the branch has a very low corrosion rate in the Palanpur. You can see this is the branch we have exposed, and you see the steel is there. This is bronze, this is aluminum. You can see the surface how much has been changed. This is initial without exposure, but once we export in the condition in the open atmosphere, Jamshedpur, it is a sample of the Jamshedpur. You can see here that the very dense and color has been changed. Color has been changed for all the sample, like it's bronze, this is steel, this is aluminum. It is due to the formation of corrosion. Also, along with this one, we have exposed the galvanized coating. I think people know about the galvanized coating. It's called the zinc coating. Zinc coating is being used especially in the coastal area because it's protect the steel. Galvanized steel means the zinc. Zinc is a sacrificial, means zinc can sacrifice itself, but it can protect to the steel. That's why the coating is being used everywhere to protect the steel surface. So here you can see through the index, New Delhi, Lucknow, Jamshedpur, Kolkata, and Nagpur. These are the high corrosion rate for the galvanized coating due to the pollution level. Jamshedpur has the sulfur dioxide content, carbon content, particulate matter. That's why the Kolkata has the humidity. So that's why it's also affecting the corrosion rate. But as we move to the Jorhat, is the low. But once you move to the Palanpur, there is no corrosion. There is very less corrosion due to the virgin condition. This is a black granite, marble, and sandstone we have also exposed. Here you can see that Palanpur also as well, there is no corrosion. But New Delhi, Lucknow, Kolkata, Nagpur, and that's the Bhavnagar, it's showing the medium corrosion rate for the black granite, Makrana, and the sandstone. But in the case of Kolkata, but in the case of Mumbai, you can see it's a seashore. And here you can see the corrosion is very high. But here the Chennai is also, the corrosion rate is low. Why in the coastal area corrosion rate is high? Because in that location, the wind is very high, extreme humidity, and the salinity. So what happens? The colloid ion will cause the corrosion and start to form the corrosion rate. But the wind and the rain will wash out the corrosion product. Once the corrosion product is washed out, the surface again become plain. So and then again that the colloid ion, aggressive ion will affect the corrosion. That's why that here the corrosion rate is very high. These are the marble, Makrana marble, and the black granite, red stone. It is unexposed. But if you see here, after 1 year of exposure in the Jorhat condition, you see that sandstone has some microbes, and the color of the Makrana marble has been changed, and the black granite has changed its color. It's very black. It's black. But here you can see the blackness is decreased due to the effect of the humidity and also Jorhat is the very humid, as well as there is in the atmosphere microbes is there, because Jorhat contains of coal. That's coal. Coal is containing some sulfur, and in the presence of sulfur, sulfur reducing bacteria is there, growing. Then you can see here, we have observed that in the sign here, it is a sulfur growing bacteria, which is decreasing the property of the marble. So the India scenario is like this. No parts are in zone of very high and extremely high for carbon steel. In India, there is no location. Northern part of India are in very low and low zones for the carbon steel, means C1 and C2 index. South part, southwest part, and southeast part below the Nagpur in zone of medium for carbon steel. These are the some index as I discussed earlier. So then again, little bit I would like to discuss about the Taj Mahal. Actually, Taj Mahal is famous for the beauty, everyone know. So what is the effect of the pollution on the property of the Taj Mahal? So I would discuss here. What happened? This is a Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal is made of the marbles, and these marbles are supported by iron dowel. So upper side marble is there, and inside that to give the support for the marble, the iron is there. So you know that the Taj Mahal is surrounded by the Yamuna River, and the Yamuna River is nowadays very polluted, because here is some industry is there. So that in that industry, their influence is going in the river, and there is sulfur content is very high in the Taj Mahal, as you know. So the sulfur content is very high. So in the presence of sulfur, so that's corrosion is very high for the steel. Corrosion is very high. So because sulfur is causing acid, in the presence of acid, sulfur means sulfuric acid. Once it will react with the water, it will form the sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid is very dangerous for the steel. Means any acid is very dangerous for the steel. If acid is making in the atmosphere, so what happens, that acid means aggressive ion go through the some space, crack, pores from the marbles towards the steel surface, and it will go towards the steel surface, and once it will come on the steel surface, the corrosion will start. So what happens, the corrosion will start. So corrosion product will cause some external internal pressure to the marbles, and through the space of the marbles, that corrosion product is bleeding out. That's why some people are telling, so Taj Mahal is bleeding. Bleeding means blood, means red rust. Red rust is coming. Red rust is coming. So they are telling Taj Mahal is bleeding. Taj Mahal is bleeding. This is not a bleeding. This is the coming of the corrosion product inside of the iron dowel towards the surface. That's why it is showing some bleeding. These are samples we have exported, different samples: zinc, copper, clay, painted steel, and carbon steel. You can see here the corrosion rate. We have calculated the corrosion rate. We have exported three type of material. One is the zinc, second is the copper, third one is the carbon steel. You can see according to ISO 9223 index, carbon and zinc is a low corrosion rate in the low condition, and the copper is very high. Copper is high. You can see copper for the Agra, copper showing 2.49, while the carbon steel for the Agra and Lucknow, it is around 11.39, 11.75, and zinc is also around 2. So it is not so much expensive. So different exposure we have exposed, and we have calculated, gathered the meteorological data. These are the content. So findings. Today's finding: environment in the vicinity of Taj Mahal is in category C2 for the carbon steel and zinc. The copper, it is category C4, means high condition. Sulfide environments are more corrosive for copper than the other metals. H2S has dominated role on the corrosion of metal. This is my closure. So no part of India falls under the category of extremely condition, high rate of corrosion zone of metal. the environment of the southern part of the India is more corrosive to the metal alloy. Means that Chennai, Kerala, these parts are very corrosive. Jorhat and Mumbai are categorized as a high corrosive zone for the marbles and stones. For the steel, zinc, other things it is not there is no, but only for the marble stone is very corrosive. Hydrogen sulfide emitted from polluted Yamuna River, causing distress of the iron dowel used to support marble in the tar. Copper zinc based alloy are the most stable and preferred material for possible usage dowel. Thank you. So, Vijender,
Yes, sir. Thank you,
yes,
sir.
it
Yes,
was my
sir.
presentation.
Thank you, sir. So thank you so much for your nice and informative presentation. I think they have learned a lot from you, sir. Due to some time limit, you are not available for us. No issue,
Yeah.
sir. We can arrange some another thing. Then we will also invite you, sir.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
Yeah.
If I will have a time, so I will attend. No problem. There is no issue. I would like to join such type of meeting. Yes, no problem.
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. In this time, you are giving so much time for us. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so you can continue your presentation because after 30 minutes I have a meeting because some masters and PhD students. So they have their masters and PhD thesis defense. So I would like to brief them and I like to check their presentation. So I have another meeting. Sorry, guys, I don't have so much time. So now I am.
No issue, sir. Thank you, sir, so much for giving us time, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So.
Rakesh, sir, are you there? Please unmute your mic, sir. Unmute your mic, sir, first. Sir, unmute your mic, sir. Microphone.
Now it's okay.
Yes, sir. Just click on the present now button, sir, in the top bottom corner.
Okay.
Top bottom corner. Present now.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Click on that. Yes, sir. Now open your PPT, sir. Open your PPT. Just minimize the window and open your PPT. Yes, sir. Put it in the full screen mode, sir. Yes, sir. Now it is visible, sir, to all of them.
Now I can start.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So good afternoon, all of you. Thank you, Dr. Occasion, World Environment Day. Myself, Dr. Rakesh Kant Kamal. I am working in TERI, the Energy and Resources Institute, which is in New Delhi headquarters. We have some another branches also in Mumbai and all about 7 locations in India. So on this day, 5th June, Thursday, World Environment Day, year 2002, as I hope most of you are aware about the theme of the World Environment Day of the year 2020, that is biodiversity solutions are in nature. I am working in Environmental Industrial Biotechnology division here. I will start with the day. This day is the United Nations principal vehicles for encouraging worldwide. This World Environment Day is celebrated worldwide. is this day held annually since 1974. I hope we have already heard the term sustainable development goals. We have several agenda inside these goals, or out of 17 agenda, biodiversity is one of them. So as we aware of UNEP, that is United Nations Environment Program, which includes about 150 countries. All the countries participate each year. The major institute organizations are non-government organizations, communities, governments, and celebrities from across the world. So the event this year, the theme for World Environment Day is biodiversity, which is a major concern that is both very urgent and existential. So it was first started in 1972. The United Nations General Assembly established the World Environment Day. This year, Colombia is hosting World Environment Day 2020 in collaboration with Germany. Every year, World Environment Day is observed on June 5th. This day was first of all already in the first slide it was mentioned. It started in the year 1974 and from there it's continued till 2020. The first event was organized in Spokane, that is in US. Now, what is the need to encourage this World Environment Day? There is basically the focus aim is to celebrate and to encourage awareness and environmental protection. In the last year, in 2019, China hosted World Environment Day, and the last year theme was Beat Air Pollution. So, in this slide, I have calculated all the World Summit over World Environment Day, which which states that most of the countries are concerned about sustainable development goal, climate change. So see, COP25, COP stands for Conference of Parties. So even climate change conference in Madrid in Spain, where Ricardo Lozano, Colombia's Minister of Environment and Sustainable Development, Jochen Flasper, Germany State Secretary of the Environment, and Inges Anderson, Executive Director of the UN Environment Program, is that with 1 million plant and animal species are facing extinction. This is a very serious issue. There has never been a more important time to focus on the issue of biodiversity. 1 million plant and animal species reach extinction largely due to human activities. So we have to rethink what are the basic causes and what we need to do. What are the bases? What are the best solutions to find to protect and to protect the biodiversity?
Rakesh sir, sorry to disturb you. Sir, can you please resume your presentation?
Yes.
Please resume, sir. It is not there. Sir, you can start from present now button once again, sir. I will remove you. Yes. You can start from the present now button.
Okay.
Present now once again.
I have to connect once again more.
No, sir. No, just click on the present now button.
Yeah. Then
Entire screen. Then share.
Okay.
Then share.
Then share.
Yes, sir. It is not coming, sir. Yes, sir. It is now coming. Sir.
So can I start?
Yes, sir. Just
this slide or previous slide from the starting slide?
From where you left, start from that only, sir.
Okay. I will continue from that slide only.
Yes, sir. Just put the PPT in the full mode.
Okay. Once again, I will put my PPT in the full mode. And
Yes,
Okay, this slide I have already discussed. I will move forward. So, World Environment Day 2002 is a very critical year for nations' commitment. China hosting the 15th meeting of the Conference of the Parties to the UN Convention on Biological Diversity in coming. Next year also, we have a UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration year 2021-2030. This is the set agenda by the Sustainable Development Goals. All the top world-class leaders are discussing these issues. Major issues are climate crisis, enhanced food security, water supply, and biodiversity. Biodiversity, because today the theme of the World Environment Day is the biodiversity. So we have a World Environment Day 2000 themes. It's mentioned here biodiversity. India, we have a board known as National Biodiversity Authority, which was established by central government in 2003, which implement all the Indian Biological Diversity Act. This act came in the year 2002. So this National Biodiversity Authority, with its headquarters in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, which delivered its mandate, which comprises of the authority, all the secretariat, all the state board, all the expert committees. So biodiversity sustainable development goal agenda 2016. Now what biodiversity defined here? Biodiversity or biological defined here is the multitude of living things that make of life. 8 million species on the planet, which comprise a plant and animals to fungi and bacteria, and the ecosystem that house them, such as oceans, forests, mountains, environments, and coral reefs. In January this year, World Economic Forum, which headquarters is in Switzerland, already mentioned on the above slide here, they reported global risk report diversity loss in the top 5 global risks for the first time on the record. So now, since last 3 months, we are facing pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, which understandably dominated so far, and it is still important to recognize the role of biodiversity in addressing global environment challenges. So again, another international organization, WWF Fund. Again, its headquarters is in Switzerland. Its place written here. This WWF report 2016 indicate current rate of species extinction are 100 to 1000 times higher than the rate before human pressure become a prominent factor. So this is the major concern. We have still, from the last slide, we have learned that extinction is the major issue. Human activity is the major issue. Now, rate is describing here 100 to 1000 times higher. Now, as per the IPBES is mentioned in the next slide, 2000 Global Assessment Report. This report also claimed 1 million species are threatened with extinction. The message is very clear. We need urgent action. We need to collaborate. We need to come forward and to conserve the loss of biodiversity. So why we need to conserve biodiversity? What is the need? Why we want to conserve biodiversity? Biological diverse ecosystem have a vast amount of carbon, and it's provide massive economic benefit that estimated $33 trillion per year. $33 trillion per year, which is equivalent to the GDP of two most developed countries, US and China. So these are the top 5 risks. We need to know what top 5 risks here are. Extreme weather event is recently seen 2 days back, I think Nisarg in Mumbai, floods, storms, cyclones, failure of climate change mitigation and adaptation, major natural disasters like earthquake, tsunami, volcanic eruption, geomagnetic storms, biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse, human-made environmental damage and disaster. So these are the collateral reports we have collected all over from the IBPS in the last slide, which define intergovernmental science policy platform on biodiversity and ecosystem. Again, this report says 80% of the targets of the sustainable development goals related to this is the major issue. We all the whole the world have the sustainable development goals agenda. We have 17 well-defined objective of the agenda, which includes poverty, hunger, health, sustainable consumption and production, water, cities, climate, oceans, and land. We need to concern on these parameters very seriously. UNEP, already in the last slide, is the leading global voice. We already know UNEP, WWF, WA. These are the events to be scheduled in 2020. One event, 15 convention on the conservation. We must need to know because these all are related with the biodiversity and environment. So convention on the conservation of migratory species of wild animals, which is scheduled, I think it's over now. February World Biodiversity Forum is over now. UN Asian Conference is scheduled to be in Lisbon, Portugal on date 2nd to 6th June. IUCN World Conservation Congress will be scheduled in France. Water and climate change, Sweden. Biodiversity Leaders Summit might take place at the same time and place. So these are the events we must need. What are the human interest? Why humans are interfacing with the biodiversity? We have in the last 5 years, many species extinction. The common most are Steller sea cow, passenger pigeon. We must know these two species name because they are very overexploited by one of the regions. They are very extinct due to the overexploitation by the humans. Presently, where marine population, fish population also decreasing or numbers are reducing. So some invasive fauna already reported in India are eucalyptus in southern India, goldfish, how chico. We have collected here. So we have in India we have a board for biodiversity, that is National Board for Wildlife, which is chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister of India. We set the policy. We have a National Wildlife Action Plan 2016, which was adopted in 2002. We have already made agenda. We have already so much planned. We need to focus. We need to go through that. We need to learn from that, and we have to adopt and use all the policies in our day-to-day life. We have eco-sensitive zones, National Wildlife Action Plans, MOEFCC, Minister of Environment, Forest, Climate Change. We have an Environmental Protection Act. The purpose of the eco-sensitive zone to provide protection for the parks. Eco-sensitive zone minimize forest depletion and man-made conflict. There should not be forest depletion and any man-animal interaction within the ecosystem zone. We have, if you can go through the other reports with the eco-sensitive, then you will find core zone and buffer zone. They have demarcated very clearly there. Core zone, buffer zone, you can go and you can learn all the details from the eco-sensitive zones there. The core area has the legal status, but the buffer area which do not have a legal status to become to have a status of being a national park and could be a reserve forest, wildlife sanctuary or tiger reserve. These are the case. These are the case study which I come to know from the other website and the report. Recently, Sikkim University found that you can see how biodiversity is very important. A small state like Sikkim in the India, where research put on in very close manner. What they did actually, we can see here. What they do, they found that when organic farming has increased the species diversity, they started organic farming. They found a species diversity has increased. So Kasser hen, the recently discovered small Bhutan butterfly, in the state of Sikkim is home to 700 species of plants. The study found indigenous farming system, organic farming program. The team studied large cardamom, mandarin, which all includes natural farming, in which they studied that 268 butterfly species belonging to 6 different in these areas. This waterfly community include two-third forest. These are the biodiversity hotspot: Western Ghat, Sri Lanka, Eastern Himalaya, Indo-Burma. These are they have one act is Wildlife Protection Act, Act of Parliament of India. It extends to whole of India except Jammu and Kashmir. Have 6 schedules, various very degree of protection. Other act, Air Act, Biological Diversity Act, Environmental Protection Act. We need to know all these acts very seriously when we are dealing with either with the civil engineering, environmental engineering, or environmental science nowadays. So they can now the question is, can diversity loss lead to more infection disease? In this report, a scientist had discovered two diseases, had discussed two diseases: West Nile disease and Lyme disease. So waistline disease and Lyme disease, what they find in 2008 report, Indian Journal of Community Medicine, Patil group attributed outbreak of anthrax in Chhattisgarh state to loss of biodiversity. One scientist, disease ecologist, Carey Institute of Ecosystem, New York, they find West Nile virus, which is a mosquito-borne disease. They have also discussed KFD, Kenosha forest disease, a tick-borne hemorrhage. What they want to suggest that if we protect, if we concern about the biodiversity, we can also focus on the species, not to be extinct, because these all are related with our health indices. So we need to learn this, the species that tend to be more sensitive to human disruption of the ecosystems. Again, I am repeating, the species that tend to be more sensitive to human disruption of ecosystems are rarely the one most responsible for spillover transmission to the human. In another word, we can be confident that the next zoonotic emergence event is more likely to come from a rat than a rhino. So we must concern, we have to think, we have to look on this statement, we have to protect everyone. We have to start from ourselves. We need to protect biodiversity, we need to protect component of the biodiversity, and we need to think. Western Ghats, all the discussions we have all the I have already discussed with the one so many hotspots. One of them is Western Ghat, which comprises 6% Indian landmass, 30% plant species. One report you can learn, Madhav Gadgil report, which have submitted a very nice description report of the Western Ghat here. We can go through that. 2000, India is signatory to Convention on Biodiversity 93, Natural Heritage Connections. These are the Indian government launches, recently Government of India launches, these are the International Day of Biodiversity, which recently happened on 22nd of May, this year only. So on the occasion, they had National Biodiversity Authority, NBA, and United Nations Development Program have launched Biodiversity Samarkand Internship Program, which purpose to engage 20 students with postgraduate degree. If you have a postgraduate degree, you can apply in this program also for a period of 1 year through a very open, transparent, and online competitive. So these internship program launched this year only by Honorable Minister of Environment, Forest, Climate Change, Prakash Javadekar. We have another campaign with Wildlife UNEP. We have a webinar series. We have a conference. We had already WWF Model Conference on Parties, COP11 in Hyderabad, which have a logo this year. We have to focus on this logo. This logo is not a meaning. This logo is not can be not only seen in the web slides.
Hello, sir. Wait for 2 minutes. Sir will be joining. There will be some network issue. Just wait for only 2 minutes. I think sir has some network issue. Sir will not able to join right now. Sir, so we have our next expert, Dr. Gagan Mata, sir. Sir, are you able to? I am audible to you.
Yes, yes, you are audible to me. Thank you so much, Vijender ji.
Yes, sir.
And
Thank you.
shall I start with my presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because Rakesh sir has some network issue. After
Okay,
joining, they will conclude their session. No issue.
fine, no issues, no issues.
Yes, sir.
So, so I hope you are getting my presentation.
No, sir. You can click on the present now button in the right bottom right corner, sir. Now it
I've
is.
started.
Yes,
It
sir.
is. It was there now.
No, sir. It was coming, but it will be stopped.
Just hold on for a second.
Just click on the present now button, sir.
Just hold on. Just. Uh, Now it is visible.
No, sir. It is not there, sir.
Now,
No, sir. Click
just
on
hold
the
on for a second.
present now, then your entire screen. Yes, sir. It is. Yeah, it is coming.
Okay, okay. So today
Sir, put it in the full screen mode, sir.
it is in the full screen mode. Actually, this is a pattern of
Okay, no issues.
the
No.
laptop. Okay.
Okay, no issue, sir.
Okay. So myself, Dr. Gagan Mata, I'm here to present a topic, rather to share such certain experiences with me and my lab mates. We have a topic of water quality and conservation of river systems, especially focused on river systems and river bodies in Himalayan region. Today we are celebrating the World Environment Day on this digital platform. due to the pandemic COVID-19, which has affected the entire humanity with health, social, economic, and political, and different aspects, but in every negative way. But to the focusing on the environmental side, it has given much positive impact, especially in the lockdown phase. Uh, I start with my presentation about the water, brief about the water. Water is the most important and limited source, causing water scarcity in many parts of the world and getting worse with environmental degradations and climate change due to increase in population, urbanization, and industrialization. Counting on the freshwater resources like rainwater, nourishing streams, rivers, lakes, and groundwater, fulfilling the needs of humanity and rest all living forms for survival. Right now, you can see in the image the entire globe, then a big drop of water which is available on Earth, and a small drop of water which is available as a fresh water to us. Seen on the surface of Earth in the form of river and lakes, and unseen water below the ground are equally important. Like the surface water is important and the groundwater is important. According to United Nations report 2018, 6 billion people will suffer from water scarcity by 2050. With the increasing population, demand for clean water, decline in freshwater resources, extinction of water resources like glaciers, springs, tremendous increase in air pollution activities, and so-called population growth. आप बहुत अच्छे से इस इमेज में समझ पा रहे होंगे what is the availability of our total water, the ratio of glaciers, ice caps, groundwater as a fresh water, then surface water and other fresh water which is available to us. When we talk about water and water quality, you must understand that any water body is divided into two components, the abiotic components or the abiotic factors and biotic components or biotic factors. On my leftmost side, you can see all the biotic components where we have a biological forms, these are living forms. On my topmost, the right side, we have only the abiotic factors which are not living, but they are equally contributing to the water body, like air, sky, clouds, water, sand, etc. And in the middle, the overall ecosystem, biotic and abiotic factor combinedly shown that we are dependent on each other. When we talk about the water quality, we must understand that until and unless we don't identify what is the level of our quality, how we have to test it, what are the standard parameters, then we can define that water quality is good, bad, or it could be going towards declining phase. First initial step is to taking the sample, delivering through track, certain lab experiments, on-site assessment is being done, and after that, the complete process of the testing, a continuous flow of data is being managed within the lab and by the government to plan policy making for the conservation strategies, plannings, and management practices. Also, for the research point of view, the monitoring of any water body, specifically which are very vulnerable, like in Himalayas, which are totally dependent on the glaciers, are most important because when glacier will melt, there will be no source of water especially in the Himalayan region or in the northern part of India, if you talk about the northern part of India. Now, major factors which are affecting the water quality are, one of the biggest concerns today is the plastic pollution. Earlier, it was basically related with the freshwater resources, but now the oceans, which are highly depleted by the plastic pollution, are the major concern across the globe. Another concern is like certain activities, like one activity is showing in the river system, which is like, this doesn't belong to us. Why do we need? Water is flowing. We can take a dip of bath, but it doesn't mean that water is only belong to us. We are only the caretakers of the current natural resources. We have to think, we have to understand that we are just passing the current natural resources to the next generation, and we must focus that every natural resource has to be maintained and taken care of. Wastewater coming out from industries, air pollution and all, everything directly or indirectly impacting the water quality and declining the water quality, as well as the nectar quality, which we use as a drink for the drinking, for various agricultural practices, for fresh water in different parts of North India, especially in Ganga river system and the Yamuna river system, which is highly neglected by human itself. एक तरफ हम गंगा रिवर की, गंगा नदी की पूजा करते हैं, यमुना नदी की पूजा करते हैं, और एक तरफ हम उसी को पोल्यूट कर रहे हैं. Now, my second part of presentation is I'm just teaching as a case study of river Ganga system and what are the measures we have opted for its conservation. Conservation of river Ganga system in Himalayan region of India using water quality indexing and scientific communication. Water basically the categorization of the water quality or the water body or the different locations with a certain statistical and mathematical models. अभी इसके बारे में हम आगे बात करेंगे. This is the complete Ganga river system which is called the lifeline of India. The river Ganga system, this is the Gomukh, the origin point, and Devriyag, where the confluence of Alaknanda and the Bhagirathi combine to form river Ganga. Basically, from Badrinath, Alaknanda river is coming, Gangotri, the Bhagirathi river is coming. And actual Ganga river formation is just like you are showing the below picture. This is a Devriyag where the confluence point is there. Ganga river system. The Himalayas are the source of three major Indian rivers, namely the Indus, Ganga, and the Brahmaputra. Ganga drains a basin of extraordinary variation in altitude, climate, land use, flora and fauna, social and cultural life. From millions of people depend on this great river for physical and spiritual substances. People with immense faith on the power of healing of regeneration of Ganga is making it most sacred river across the globe. It is playing a very tremendous role in various religious, cultural, and other rituals, especially in India. These are the two pictures. Basically, both are the day and evening view of the Rishikesh. Ganga river system is one of the most precious river system and most precious river in the Himalayan region, along with these other tributaries like Yamuna and other, especially in the Uttarakhand state. Mostly livelihood of Uttarakhand state is also dependent on the Yamuna river system. Over the years, number of industrial activities and growth of tourism activities, developmental activities has declined the water quality due to excessive load, solid waste, discharge of wastewater into the river body, and declining the water quality of Ganga river system. To understand its ecological changes and modifying ecological changes, maintaining the data for conservation policies, applying regular monitoring programs, Ganga river system is playing a very vital role and require major continuous monitoring programs. Now, the current study that we are conducting via my lab, the hydrological research lab in my department of zoology and environmental science, Gurukul Gangli Vishwavidyalaya, Haridwar, is working since 15 years, working on river Ganga system in across 20 to 25 water sampling locations across the Uttarakhand state. They're working on different aspects like the sources of identification, change in the sources, and direct and indirect sources of pollution. Then after collecting the data, after getting the samples, analysis in the laboratory, collecting the data, we apply certain water quality indexing tools, which we called as, like you can see that it's a statistical models basically, to define, to categorize, so that we can work as a management practice depending upon the severity of the location. Further, we not only give the data to the government or just publish the research papers or just deposit it into the books, but we communicate that data to common people so that they must understand what we are doing, what they are doing, and what the actual river body is required to conserve it, to preserve it, to hand over in a natural way, in a quality of water way to the future generation. This is the river system of Uttarakhand which we are covering. From the left to right, it is from Devriyag to Najibabad and to Roorkee. It is basically the Devriyag to Haridwar. It's completely the dynamic system, and from Haridwar itself, it is divided into canal system and as well as in the river system. Both is in a static way.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Sir, can you resume your presentation, sir?
Resume.
Yeah, sir. In the bottom corner, sir.
Just hold on for a second. Now it is coming.
Yes, sir. It is coming, sir.
Just hold on for a second.
Yes, sir. Fine, sir. Thank you, sir.
हाँ, तो अभी जो हम बात कर रहे थे वो हम बात कर रहे थे डिफरेंट जो हम सैम्पलिंग लोकेशंस की बात कर रहे थे, जिसमें हम we are not only putting the data into the research papers, but we are sharing the data with the common masses also. Okay, and now what are the methodologies? We are using all the techniques, standard methods which are internationally accepted with certain models, with certain EPA guidelines for assessment of the water quality, from physicochemical parameters, from heavy metals, even from human blood samples, to identify the contamination from water to the human. We just collect human blood samples with the concern of the respective people, so that we can understand what is the level of contamination is transferring from water body to the population. हमें ये बात बहुत अच्छे से समझनी है कि किसी भी वाटर बॉडी को कंजर्व करने के लिए हमें सिर्फ पानी का ही सैंपल टेस्ट नहीं करना, हमें ये देखना है कि आखिरकार एक व्यक्ति विशेष पे उसका क्या प्रभाव पड़ रहा है। ना सिर्फ इतना, बल्कि सोशल, इकोलॉजिकल, एनवायरमेंटल, इकोनॉमिकल, we have to see every aspect of the water body impact on the human beings. आपको मेरी प्रेजेंटेशन दिख रही है?
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir.
Okay, so we are using these four water quality indices for this presentation, for this study. Sorry, the comprehensive pollution index, Bhargav method, WQI, aquatic toxicology index, heavy metal pollution index, Ganga index. These are certain different indices which is basically based on different statistical methods to categorize water body for heavy metals separately, to physicochemical separately, or there are certain water quality indices which are combined to categorize single by using certain parameter in a single sheet, so that we can understand which is more appropriate. More the number of parameters are being accepted in the model, more the accuracy of the water quality will be helpful. This is the basically मैं आपको एक चीज शो करना चाह रहा हूँ. This is the WQI basically standardization, जिसमें कि हम क्लास और रेंज डिफाइन करते हैं. फॉर एन एग्जांपल, इफ द वाटर क्वालिटी इंडेक्स कम्स बिटवीन द 95 to 100, it will be excellent, and if it is come between the 0 to 44, it will be counted as the poor. So हमें जिस तरीके से हमें क्लास में परसेंटेज की बात करते हैं कि 60% से नीचे है तो सेकंड डिवीजन है, उसी तरीके से हमने गंगा किसी भी वाटर क्वालिटी इंडेक्स को 5 कैटेगरीज में डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किया हुआ है. और हम अगर अपनी केस स्टडी के बारे में बात करें तो बहुत अच्छे से देख पाएंगे कि हमारा अधिकतर पानी मार्जिनल है या फेयर कंडीशन में है. हम एक्सीलेंट कंडीशन में गंगा रिवर सिस्टम पे कहीं भी स्टैंड नहीं कर रहे हैं आज की डेट में. दिस इज द सिचुएशन इन 2019 लास्ट एंड स्टार्टिंग ऑफ द 2020. नाउ हमारे पास इंफॉर्मेशन आ गई. वी हैव द एक्चुअल कंडीशन ऑफ द वाटर क्वालिटी. व्हाट वी हैव टू डू नाउ, वी हैव टू शेयर दैट डाटा थ्रू कम्युनिकेशन with the common masses, especially while making them understand what the science is, what we are doing, what is the water quality, how it is affecting to human beings. आज की डेट में किसी भी रिवर सिस्टम की अगर हम बात करें, किसी भी सभ्यता की बात करें, वो एक नदी के किनारे, एक रिवर के किनारे ही इस्टेब्लिश होती है. और अधिकतर हम देखेंगे कि सबसे ज्यादा जिनकी डिपेंडेंसी होती है वो विलेजर्स या रूरल पीपल होते हैं. उनको समझाना, उनको कन्विंस करना अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ा रिसर्च स्टडी का काम है. और उसमें हमें सबसे पहले सबसे बड़ा जो योगदान है वो हमारा साइंटिफिक कम्युनिकेशन का है, जिसके थ्रू हम उन्हें साइंस को, लैंग्वेज बैरियर्स को हटाते हुए एक आम भाषा में एक व्यक्ति विशेष को समझा सकते हैं, जिससे वो ना सिर्फ उस चीज को समझ पाएगा बल्कि ग्राउंड लेवल पे हमें हमारी वाटर बॉडी को कंजर्व करने में हेल्प आउट भी करेगा. साइंटिफिक कम्युनिकेशन का एक बहुत बड़ा रोल रहा है पिछले करीबन 2 दशकों में. For the past 2 decades, science communication activities have gained momentum worldwide. Efforts have been made from both government and NGO platforms to enhance the public and government partnership and understanding for each other, especially for the science, and working together. The idea is to help science and to make a scientific culture and increase the scientific understanding and temperament across the country, and make the country like India, with the population of more than 1.35 billion, to contribute togetherly for the conservation of water resources and other environmental resources. Certain conservation strategies does not include only monitoring of water bodies, policy making, but also include very major role in contribution of the masses which are living, which are residing across the water bodies, which are dependent on the water bodies from domestic, commercial to the agriculture use. Communicating science is a method. It is a kind of a method or a tool. मैं आपसे कम्युनिकेट कर रहा हूं तो मैं आपको एक इंपॉर्टेंस बता रहा हूं कि आखिरकार हमारा काम क्या है, हमें साइंस एंड कम्युनिकेशन को कैसे यूज कर रहे हैं। वैसे ही एक आम भाषा में साइंस एंड कम्युनिकेशन का सबसे बड़ा रोल ये है कि हम भाषा का एक अपने आप में जो बैरियर है जिससे हमें डिवाइड करा हुआ है कि यूरोपियन इंग्लिश में बहुत अच्छी बात कर सकते हैं, उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। सामने जो व्यक्ति विशेष है उनको ये बात समझ में आनी चाहिए कि आखिरकार जो रिसर्च है, जो कंट्रीब्यूशन है हमारा सोसाइटी के लिए, एनवायरमेंट के लिए, वो हमें कहां तक लेके जा रहा है, जिसमें कि साइंटिफिक कम्युनिकेशन का एक बहुत बड़ा रोल है। Communicating science and its method is one such method which can help to conserve not only the river Ganga system but also can conserve the entire environment. Conservingly, it is most important that building the capacity of to absorb and make use of scientific and technical knowledge must be placed at the heart of the development aids efforts if there has to be successful achievements for the conservation. These are certain conservation activities which we are regularly planning by our department, which are by our students for celebrating different days and for motivating them for conservation of nature, conservation of environment, and majorly for the water bodies. We are basically residing on the bank of River Ganga at Haridwar and are highly focused to conserve by every means for the River Ganga system. We are involved different age groups of the people from junior level to the senior most level. And we are organizing different events to make them, encourage them, to contribute them for the conservation. This is my university campus, and these are the few glimpses of my departmental building, which is established in 1995. And this is the Haridwar before lockdown phase. And just thank you so much. Thank you so much for the presentation. Over to you, Brijinder ji.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for your informative presentation, sir.
Thank you.
So we have our next expert, Dr. Aswani Kumar Tiwari, sir. Sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, sir, I start.
Yes, sir.
So I have to go there in a present now.
Yes, sir. You have to go to click on the present now button.
Yeah, your entire screen.
And then click on the dialog box and then click the share button.
Dialog box. Okay. No. Excuse me. Just a minute. So we have to click in the window or?
No, sir. In the entire screen.
Okay.
Click on the entire screen. Then click on the dialog box which are present there. Then click the share button. Yes, sir. It is presenting.
It's coming.
Yeah. It is coming, sir.
Okay.
Put it in the full screen mode, sir.
Yeah. Just a minute. It's visible?
Yeah, yes, sir. It is visible. Just put it in the full screen mode only.
But it's not visible to me. So I'm checking. Okay. Just try again. Stop, and I'm trying going to again. Okay, entire screen.
Yes,
and
sir.
then so I can share.
Yes, sir. It is coming, sir. Just minimize the window, sir. Just minimize the window.
Okay.
And go to the PPT, put it in the full screen mode.
Okay. Is okay?
Yes, sir. It is okay, sir. Now
Is
go.
it visible?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay, but how I can go there? Okay.
Sir, just go on the PPT, sir. Just click on the PPT and put it in the full screen mode.
Yeah.
put it in a full screen mode, then yes, sir. Now it is okay, sir.
Okay. So first of all, thank you to all, and I would like to wish you a very happy Environmental Day. This year the theme of the environment, time for nature, and already have a more detail discussed by the Dr. Rakesh about the World Environment Day, about the aim of the World Environment Day, about the scenarios, about the role and responsibility of the countries and conservation, and our case, our next colleague, Dr. Gagan Mata, he's also shared important information about the Ganga River ecosystem. And so I'd like to just outline. I would not like to go very deep about the biodiversity, but I just focus some outline about the biodiversity. So before to go, what is a biodiversity? I would like to just mention that it started by the United Nations in 1974, and the aim was to start this environmental day to protect the environment, to raising the awareness in the people about the environment and the conservation of the environment. And what about the India? I would like to inform you, India has a host 2 times. One in 2011, it was like a theme for forest, and second was in 2018, and it was the beat the plastic pollution. So India is also actively participant in this kind of the program. So I would like to start with the what is the biodiversity. So biodiversity, more detail already have discussed by the Professor Dr. Rakesh. So the biodiversity is the sum of all different species of animals, plant, microorganisms living on the earth, and variety of habitat in which they live. And the type of biodiversity divided into 3 types. It's the genetic biodiversity, second is the species biodiversity, and third is the ecological biodiversity. And then my presentation is divided into 2 parts. Is the outline of the biodiversity, because it's the theme of the World Environment Day, and second is divided in the freshwater biodiversity and risk to the human health. So first outline, I'm discussing about the outline. So just little information about the biodiversity profile of India. India has 4 hotspots, biodiversity hotspot: the Himalayan, Indo-Burma, Western Ghat, and Sundaland. India is one of the 17 mega biodiversity countries with 2.4% of the global land areas and 4% of the water resources. It counts 7 to 8% of the record species of the world. And they have the ranking in the world. India has a ranking in the mammal is 8th rank, birds and other animals. What is multi-floor value of the biodiversity? That's very important. The Ministry of Forest, MOEF, Ministry of the Forest and Environment, have in 2009 implemented Indian National Biodiversity Action Plans, or an overview in 2009. There they have mentioned very clearly what is the value of the biodiversity, the value of the environment, social, ecosystem services, economic value, consumption value, productive use values, that is very important, to recycle, reuse, and ethical and moral values. These are really, this one is the more important, because we have to just not talk about the biodiversity, but we have to do something, and everybody have to take the responsibility to how to protect the environment. So if everyone take their responsibility, they just protect environment around them. So it would be good initiative. It is also our ethical and moral value to protect the biodiversity, because we are getting everything from the biodiversity. So we are totally depend on the biodiversity. So it's a relationship where we have to give and take. So you have to respect the all biodiversity and ecosystem. Now, What does biodiversity mean for human health? That I told you before, people depend upon the biodiversity in their daily lives. Human health ultimately depend upon ecosystem product and services, such as availability of fresh water, food, fuel sources, air pollution, air, atmosphere, soil, many things. And about the air issues have already discussed by the professor from the South Korea, Dr. Singh. And then the second point, threats to the biodiversity and health. There is a growing concern about the health consequences of the biodiversity loss and change. Direct diversity, the direct diverse of the biodiversity loss, including land use change, habitat loss, pollution, climate change, and many other, and many these diverse affect human health directly and through their impact on biodiversity. Now, the second, this was the outline, and the second was fresh biodiversity and risk to the human health. That everyone know about. 97% of water is mostly, or near about 97% of the water is saline. So we have a limited water resource to utilize for our domestic purpose. And so we categorize, like in the world, we have like 2.5% of the fresh water. But if you go there, only 1.2% is fresh water for drinkable, and other is contaminated somehow. If you see the Indian scenario, there is much demand. Sorry, there is much demand per capita water use in India, and it's going to be increase. That is about showing is going to 2025 is going to be increased more, and our most demand sector is agriculture sector as compare of Europe and compare of the world. Near about 83% of water, mostly groundwater, we use for the agriculture purpose. Rest 12% we use for industry, and only 5% we use for our domestic purpose. So you can see how much agriculture depend upon the water. And so we have to think about how to improve this and how to make it agro sustainable agriculture activities. So reduce the pressure on the water resources. So pressure on freshwater resource and human health. What are the pressure that I have discussed? High requirement of water caused by the mining industry, agriculture. In India case is agriculture industry is around 19%, near about, or more than 90% have a demand of fresh water for their huge these things, energy generation, forest and human intake. These, and they cause a high pressure on water quantity and quality of the water. Water quality result is major social economical cost. Ecosystem degradation is a key reason for decline in water quality. The input of nutrient most likely with the eutrophication, phosphorus, nitrogen is from detergent, and it come from the agriculture runoff. To take the lake, river, reservoir, coastal marine ecosystem have widely identified a major threat to both water ecosystem and human health. Contamination of water resources from fertilizer, pesticide, herbicides is a continuous serious challenge for our country. Congestion of unsafe water cause lots of waterborne diseases. You have heard about the India as well as you heard about the waterborne diseases in Africa is very common. So now we are going to aquatic system. So there is a bioaccumulation, biomagnification. Both are the different. They have different significance meaning. So how the chemicals enter in the aquatic ecosystem and bioaccumulate. So there is many source for it. It's like atmospheric deposition, water, runoff, groundwater sediment, and PS is a non-point source. Then you have the sediment, bacterial activity, sediment, and geochemistry. Sediment geochemistry, that is inside the river or river sediments. They have lots of metal and these things. And then you have then these water column, sediment, bed sediment transport each other, and then it go in the food chain. It's called bioaccumulation in the food chain, food web, population, organ, and it causes toxicity and the risk. So what is the bioaccumulation? Bioaccumulation increase in concentration of a pollutant in an organism. But what is biomagnification? It increased in concentration of a pollutant in a food chain. When it goes in the food chain, it increase the concentration of the element. So it's like the source is like a small fish or phytoplankton, then a big fish eat the small, it transfer, and it cause biomagnification, it transfer and increase the risk in a food chain. So if you go in the top, is more risk. That is the picture is showing is small fish and eating the big, and this is increased by biomagnification process and in the food chain, and the concentration is increased step by step in the food chain. So we would like to discuss about the mercury. Is a very popular biomagnification process is the mercury. This is a diagram that is discussed by the one researcher and have published this paper in Environmental Review, and they prepare a diagram to show how the bioaccumulation, biomagnification, and what is the impact of the mercury in aquatic system. So you can see the methyl mercury in phytoplankton, then you can go small fishes, the big fishes, and then human eat, and then birds eat. There is a lot. There's all the part of ecosystem correlated between each other. So you can see water, the concentration increase in algal, then increase in zooplanktons, then increase in fish, and then predator. That means we are the human and other things, the top consumer that we call it top consumer. So its concentration increase rapidly in a food chain. And what is the mercury? Mercury is a 3 type. Hope everyone know about the mercury. Is a 3 type. It is like elemental mercury, then inorganic mercury, and organic mercury. This is the part of the organic mercury. So elemental mercury, they basically used for the thermometers. Is a liquid state during the room temperature. Inorganic is a combined. The mercury is combined with some compounds like sulfate or oxygen, and the inorganic mostly used for the industrial purpose. But outside of the USA, it used in a cosmetic cream that people use. Especially the women use the cosmetic creams, and rest of the world, except the USA, they use the mercury, inorganic mercury, in the cosmetic creams. And third is a organic mercury compounds. What is the organic compound? The mercury is combined with the carbon, and when there is microorganism, they can convert it. The compound is present in the water and soil, and the microorganism can convert it in the methyl mercury. That everyone know about the Minamata disease. Minamata disease happened in the Japan, in a Minamata city, and it was around, I think, in 1956 it happened. There is one company's name is Chisco, and it was the company that produced the fertilizer in the Minamata city in the Japan, and they contaminated the Minamata Bay of the near to sea. They contaminated, they discharge their effluent, and they contaminate the aquatic ecosystem in Minamata Bay. And there is lots of loss, and due to the fishes, the fishes accumulate the mercury, methyl mercury, and then human eat, and this caused the Minamata disease. Lots of people lost their nervous system because they have a major impact of the mercury is a nervous disorder, as well as if you eat high concentration of, if you intake high concentration of, sorry, not eat, is if you intake high concentration of the mercury, it can lose your nervous system, muscles, beat the muscles. Even sometimes you cannot have a sense to speak and listen, as well as the fetus. It's very dangerous for the fetus. This is the process of the mercury. What about the mercury contamination in India? So there is a report developed by the, I think, Dr. R.C. Srivastava. He was a co-chair person of United Nations Environmental Protection Program, and he prepared a report where he mentioned where is a concentration, yeah, contamination of mercury in India. There is a many places in India. First of all, I would like to tell you, maybe most of the people aware about the Kodaikanal. It's a hill station in Tamil Nadu, where the company Unilever, Hindustan Unilever, start making the production of the thermometer, and they contaminated the Kodaikanal lake, and it was a big environmental issue. Similarly, Dr. Srivastava reported that the many places, high coastal areas, in a high concentration of mercury in a fish in coastal areas like Mumbai, Kolkata, and Karwar in Karnataka is a region, is Karwar is Karnataka, and also they have reported in the Bihar. I think is I don't know if it's right or wrong. There is one river is in North Koyal. It is maybe in the Jharkhand, if I'm not wrong, and they have reported there the Jharkhand, the mercury level in the North Koyal River, it is more near about 600 to 700 times higher than their limit, drinking water limit. What is the drinking water limit in the mercury? So another question. So there is some specific limit described by the some organizations, like 2 microgram per liter or 0.002 mg per liter, set by the UCPA. If you ask about the WHO 2017 recent one, is a 6 microgram per liter. That means 0.006 mg per liter. If you talk about the Bureau of Indian Standard 2012, it has 1 microgram per liter. That means 0.001 mg per liter. So think about, in the North Koyal River have 600 to 700 higher concentration of mercury as a described standard. And he something also have discussed about the chloroalkali industries that make some sodium chloride and other things, and they are basically located in the river basin of eastern Himalaya, and they also contaminate the river ecosystem. So it is a system that if you contaminate one system, it going go to contaminate from organism. If you discharge the element in the ecosystem, they are consumed by the microorganisms, then fish, then human, and it's a food web cycle. So that is very important. So we have to be very careful, and we have to take a proper conservation method to reduce this type of contamination in the ecosystem. Now, second, about the agriculture runoff. How agriculture runoff contaminate the surface water as well as groundwater ecosystem. Everyone know India is a agriculture countries that I told you before. 83% of the water in India people use for the agriculture purpose. So think about, when you have a much demand of agriculture and you have much land for agriculture, you contaminate much and much aquifer with the nitrate contamination. So there is lots of things people use to, like pesticide, manure. This is the input process. Then is go in the process, livestock, dairy production, crop production, and then it go into result of the concern to the study how it go. It go in manure spread in the fertilizer or waste disposal, animal defecate or land or into water. It go in manure contaminate, restrict the facial, bacterial and pathogen. Then it's contaminate with pathogen, manure contaminate with fecal bacteria. It is runoff. After this process, these are the complicated process that you can see. So it go in the runoff or irrigation result in the rainfall. When you have rainfall or when you irrigate, your land, so irrigation runoff and rainfall is infiltrate your contaminant in the aquifer. If you go inside and it's contaminate the aquifer. So if you drink contaminated nitrate water, it also have a harmful effect, and the nitrate limit is 50 mg per liter. So if it increase that 50 mg per liter due to the agriculture activities or nitrogen fertilizer and other activities, so it have a harmful effect on your human health. There is one more. This is not related to the proper human health, but is also concerned about the health of the microorganism. So also it's called eutrophication. Everybody know about the eutrophication process. When you enrich, when the lake or water body enrich with the phosphate and nitrate, it make a algal bloom, and the algal bloom lost the food habitat and oxygen production because the sunlight cannot penetrate inside, and there is a layer, a thick layer that made by the algal bloom break the light. So getting the light into water is decreased. So the oxygen demand, the other biological process is going to be reduced, and it lost for lots of small animals and phytoplanktons and other things. So I would like to go in the next step. What is the national biodiversity target? It's about our Indian action plan. What is the plan we have in 2019? We have 12-point plan to how to conserve our biodiversity and how it make the sustainable use and in to between the, how to say, human and environment, make a relation between these things. So the focus on agriculture, including they have focus on agriculture ecosystem, forest ecosystem, agriculture and fisheries. They have focus on forest, agriculture, land, aquatic, mangrove, everywhere. So these are the 12 important points have discussed by the government of India to conserve the biodiversity. Next, everyone maybe know about the Namami Gange mission. It is started by the government program. And Namami Gange, what is have mission of the Namami Gange? Is not only for the Ganga river. It has also lots of beneficial mission. It's not people think about it as Namami Gange. That means it's totally related to the Ganga river. No, it's not. It's the name of Namami Gange of the scheme. The name of the scheme is Namami Gange, but it covers all the sector of water. So they have a mission about the afforestation, public awareness. That is most important, public awareness. Then industrial effluent monitoring, Ganga Gram, that have already discussed by the Professor Mataji about the Ganga in Upper Himalayan river. And then sewage treatment, river front development, river surface cleaning, that is also very important, and the biodiversity. So these are the mission these are the component of the Namami Gange mission. These are the important component that Namami Gange is focusing on. So before to conclude, I would like to tell you the biodiversity, you depend upon the biodiversity is true. And our conclusion is that we have to just not celebrate this is a specific day of world environment. We have to connect with your environment, connect with your surrounding environment in your daily routine. So we have to develop a routine how to save the environment, how to clean the environment. So that is very important. Like 2 questions is there. One is I think 1 week ago the cyclone hit. 1 or 2 weeks ago, cyclone hit in the West Bengal, destroys the Sundarban. This is the natural process we cannot control. And second happened 2 days ago about the elephant, that is a human activities. So we have to be careful about this. We have to respect each and every animals of our planet. We have to give all the respect, and we have to take care of all the sustainable. We have to take care of all the part of the environment, including yourself. You are also the part of the environment. This is I would like to tell you. And just from this, I would like to close my presentation here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Vijendra is here.
Yes, sir. I'm here, sir.
Yeah. Is there any question?
Please, if you have any question, please write. I think there is no question, sir.
Yeah, okay.
No issue. Sir, one of our student wants to say thanks to you. Sivraj, are you there? Sivraj?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell.
So, thank you, Aswani sir, for giving us your valuable time to us. And as we listen to you, that is very beneficial for our knowledge also. So, I would like to conclude today's session, which we have gone through from past uh, 1.5 hours. So, starting with Dr. J.K. Singh from Hanyang University, South Korea. He shared about ISO course for different zones with us. And he also made us aware about atmospheric corrosion ratio and its unit, that is micrometer per year, which we were not aware. And he also showed us the Indian scenario of corrosive index as per ISO. In his lecture, we also learned about sledding and distillation of marble of Taj Mahal, and also bleeding stain on marbles and falling apart noted. In his closer, he mentioned that no part of India falls under the category of extremely high rate of corrosion zone for metals. Besides this, some southern part is more corrosive. So we would like to thank Dr. J.K. Singh for his valuable time. And due to time crunch, he left us going to his another meeting. So, in addition to his lecture, we have Dr. Rakesh. We have Dr. Rakesh Kant Kamal, EIBD Energy and Research Institute, TERI. So in this lecture, he showed us international scenario also about sustainable development goals, in which we have 17 different goals, and the major goal is due to current scenario, we have biodiversity. So he also showed us the massive economic benefits that are estimated as $33 billion per year. So we would like to thank sir for sharing us about human interaction with biodiversity, biodiversity hotspots in India, about Wildlife Protection Act, and many different things. And at last, he also shared a very good initiative of Government of India, which is going to happen on International Day of Biodiversity, that it is going to allow an internship for postgraduates. So we would heartily thank you, sir, for giving us such a valuable information with us. And in addition to his lecture, we again we have Dr. Gagan Mata, Assistant Professor, Gurukulam University. So, in his beautiful lecture, he showed us components of water body, also showed about water quality testing. He made us aware about that we have not to test only water samples. We have to also test blood of animals also to know the quality of water. And also he with us conservation of the Ganga system in region of India using water quality indexing. Uh, Science and communication. And at last, we have Dr. Aswani Kumar Tiwari sir, the assistant professor in JLV New Delhi, and he also shared us very good concepts about Minamata disease in Japan happened, how it happened, and also many much more things regarding this. So we are very thankful to sir for giving us his precious time with us. And thank you. And I would also like to thank Bijendra sir for giving me opportunity for concluding this session. So over to you, sir.
So very nice. I just give thanks to our expert, Dr. J.K. Singh sir from South Korea, Hanging University, South Korea, Dr. Rakesh sir from TERI, Dr. Gagan Mata sir from Gurukul Kangri University, Haridwar, and Dr. Ashwani Kumar Tiwari sir from Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi. Sir, thank you so much, sir, for giving us time. Your knowledge is very beneficial for the participants, I think so. And World Environment Day is like that कि हमेशा वो चीज को अवेयर रहना है अपने से. एक बार जब तक है तब तक अवेयर रहना है, ये एक हमेशा दिमाग में रख लेना है कि एनवायरनमेंट हमसे है और हम एनवायरनमेंट से हैं. यदि ये दो चीजें हमेशा रहेगी तो हमारा एनवायरनमेंट कभी भी डिग्रेड नहीं करेगा. So thank you all for joining the session. We will now conclude the things, and thank you to participant and thank you to experts. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Best of luck for your future.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, participant. Thank you to all.